Here we go. Hey, it's Fred Staub and Les Jackson. We appreciate you being here with us for another edition of Cruise Control. It's jam-packed with
hmm
stuff, Les, isn't it?
It always is, and this hour is no different. We've got stories like the affordability shift. Consumers are starting to move to less expensive new vehicles.
Right.
Finally, Fred, I've been encouraging this for several years.
Yes, and that's an interesting story from Stellantis. They said, "Hey, we'd rather stop building gas-powered cars than pay a fine for not building enough electric vehicles." We'll explain that. Wow,
Yeah, I'm not
Stellantis is
sure.
going through it, isn't it?
Certainly
So,
are. They keep changing the game. Anyway, Ford is freshens up the 2025 Mustang Mach E. We haven't talked much about that
no, and
recently. It's a great machine.
great machine. You saw a lot of them when they came out. I don't see as many of them nowadays, but it is a great machine, and they're keeping it fresh at Ford, which is a great thing. And then Mini takes the wraps off of its John Cooper Works edition, and we'll tell you about that. They have the convertible and they have the coupe, so that will be pretty cool to talk about, right?
That's right. And back to gas powered vehicles, Audi has just built its most powerful one, and it's called the RSQ8.
Wow.
It even looks powerful.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. We will talk about that, and then I'll have an at the wheel review of the, well, I'll call it a Lexus pickup truck, but it's actually a Toyota Tundra Capstone, which has oh man, it's like a super luxurious vehicle. It really is.
yeah,
So we,
and super expensive, I trust.
oh yeah. It's not one of those less expensive vehicles that we were talking about. So,
No.
no. So, we will have all that coming up on Cruise Control. We will be right back.
Mhm.
This is Cruise Control. Your on-air automotive magazine with co-hosts Fred Staub and Les Jackson. Everything you need to know about new and used cars. Industry news. We'll fix or repair your car on the air. Fasten your seatbelts and let us take the wheel. Now, your ride is about to begin. Because you're on Cruise Control. Cruise Control. Cruise Control.
That's right, it has begun. Welcome to Cruise Control. It's Fred Staub and Les Jackson sitting down to talk about the automotive industry, new developments, talking a little tech, a whole lot more. How about that, Les Jackson? What do you think?
I think it's a good idea because we have a lot to cover.
Yeah, we sure do.
And we should just start right away with consumers are beginning, Fred, to move and look for less expensive new vehicles. We've been up to almost $48,000 average transaction price in the U.S. In a country where the average household income is about $85,000 to $90,000. That's
right. It's out of balance.
That's high.
Yeah.
Well, Very
they're changing to less expensive vehicles. We'll tell you about that. And then Stellantis says, well, we'll build less vehicles instead of paying a fine. We'll explain what that all means. Stellantis has been doing some crazy stuff lately, for sure.
That's very true. Anyway, Ford has freshened the 2025 Mustang Mach E. We haven't heard much about them in a couple of years.
No.
Nice machine. I've enjoyed them.
Yeah, great machine. We'll tell you about what's new.
Was due for a freshening.
Yep, we'll tell you what all the refreshing is, and then we'll also talk about the John Cooper Works Mini, which is a whole ball of fun. It's available in a convertible or in a coupe. And yes, it does have the pizza pie dashboard.
It does have, the pizza. I have the pepperoni version.
Exactly. But we'll talk about that.
It's a fun car. It really is a fun car. And Audi has built its most powerful gas-powered vehicle. It's a sedan-ish looking vehicle called the RSQ8, and this is a monster.
Yeah, really is. It looks like a monster. It's got the stance. It's got the wheels. It's got the look. So we'll talk about that. And another monster in a different way, gigantic truck. Yes, the Toyota Tundra Capstone, top of the range vehicle. This is like a 4-door Lexus with a pickup truck bed on the back, and it was gargantuan. Has a hybrid drivetrain, and just a beautiful piece for sure. We'll tell you about that and have a full at the wheel review.
Yes, and I'm going to interject how many houses I could build or buy instead of that vehicle.
All right, we'll talk about that when we come back.
Yes.
So, less interesting deal going on at SEMA. We've got to talk about that. Have you ever? I think we've had the Ring brothers on the show before, but
I believe we did a while back.
They're going to have a bunch of new vehicles out at SEMA. And, of course, that's coming up basically, I think, next week. And Specialty Equipment Market Association. Let me just tell you about what they're going to do. And these cars are so detailed, it's crazy. Infected is a 1970 Plymouth Cuda, where Ring Brothers are taking a stand against the endless shades of gray saturating the modern car market with a high impact color some may deem polarizing. Okay. It's got an 807 horsepower Hellcrate red eye engine, manual transmission, extended wheelbase, custom cowl and firewall, fenders, and so much more.
Wow.
Then they have Invader, which is a 1987 Buick Grand National with 1,246 horsepower, a 6-speed manual transmission, which backs the twin turbocharged 3.8-liter V6 and features ample custom touches, enhancing the G-body. And then one more.
Go ahead.
Tuca, a 1972 Chevrolet Blazer, four-wheel drive that incorporates modern convenience and ample technology, and a truly one-off machine. Every panel has been customized, here's that word again, with bespoke components that showcase the Ring brothers' zealous attention to detail. That's what they have, a zealous attention to detail.
Well, they do that. Now, the Grand National, I confess, I have always thought that was just a hideous-looking car. I didn't like it when they came out in '87. I don't like them now.
Very popular, though, still.
It was very popular, but I just think it's probably one of the ugliest Buicks they ever made. It's just me.
They needed a platform to put that great engine in.
Well, they did.
So they didn't have much except like a LeSabre boat, luxury boat or something like that, right? So.
Well, that's right. Plus, people are familiar with the Grand National Buick, so
here we go.
That's a lot of power in a.
Here we go.
In that body.
Cruise Control.
Hey, welcome back to Cruise Control. Fred and I are moving ahead with everything. The consumer affordability and Stellantis, and what shall we? Well, let's talk about what people plan to buy. What do you think?
Yes, let's talk about that affordability. You and I have been talking about this. People have been basically mortgaging their life for a new vehicle, with the average price $48,000, and there seems to be a trend now that people are going to less expensive cars. There was an article written for the AP that talks about lower priced cars gaining popularity, and it's not because they can't afford a new car. It's that they're really thinking about it and saying, you know what, maybe I don't need that. And they use the case of a nurse that had a giant full-size SUV, and instead, when it came time to trade that in and get something new, she bought a Chevy Trax. She's like, it's just one person, and I don't need anything else. I just need a vehicle that's sized for me. Now, you have always said this. You see a lot of one-person drivers driving like the biggest pickup truck or a gigantic SUV. I've seen it where people just can't park them because it's like a tractor trailer. They
almost always. And I'm constantly, my wife is sick of hearing me because I'll just say, well, now see, there's this person trying to back it up into a parallel spot. They have a backup camera. They clearly don't know how to use it.
Right.
And but that being said, what's staggering is that currently people that aren't doing what this woman did, the average buyer is spending $737 a month to finance that $47,000.
Right.
And it takes 6 years before it's paid off. It's just this can't work. You're taking tremendous risk.
And let's just face this. This is not an aspirational vehicle that you say, hey, I worked all my life. I want a new, whatever. these are just bread and butter vehicles. And, I believe this is at the crux of the whole people aren't getting EV thing, besides charging and all that. When
Right.
they started to think it was okay, and maybe it was required to do this to make money, but when they started to say, hey, it's okay to sell cars for over $100,000, SUVs or whatever, or even $80,000, and people will be okay with it. People weren't okay with it
No,
because it's
they're not okay with it. It turns out, yeah.
uh,
So this,
well,
this is a to me, this is a good pattern
yes. Well,
because
it's
you
just
know,
smarter buying. You just don't need to do that, and
well, Americans are famous. I've grown up my whole life knowing this and observing it, that Americans are famous for living beyond their means. And you just don't have to do that. If you can live within your means, you'll always have more money to spend. You really will.
yeah. Well, it's true, and I just think it got to the pain point where people are like, I just don't
Yeah.
need that, and I love it when having a small vehicle I can just pull right in one shot in a parking
Yep.
lot. And you're right, I was at a parking garage the other day, and it's literally like taking someone 5 or 6 tries to get in a parking space. Probably that means you have too big a vehicle, I think. But
Yeah. Just get rid of that thing, and drive something that's more correct for you and your needs.
right,
It can still be an SUV, but there are plenty of crossovers. They're not
yeah.
big.
Yeah, they're not big, and they still have a lot of the utility. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
well, there you have it. That's our. Now we'll get off our soapbox, but it does seem like people are switching
Yeah.
over according to this article. Here's a weird one from Stellantis. So Stellantis, which has many brands, of course, in Europe and here, of course, here it's Chrysler and Alfa Romeo and Dodge and Ram. So they've said uh, in that the European Union by 2025 will require them, if they sell gas powered cars, to sell more electric powered cars. They said no problem. We'll just sell less gas powered cars so we
Because
don't pay a
people aren't
fine.
because people aren't buying them anyway.
So, well, we'll talk about this after the break, but
Yeah.
it's an interesting conundrum. So stay tuned to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. So, Les, that is the conundrum. The conundrum is if you are selling gas-powered cars, a certain amount of them, and then you're not selling enough electric cars, you will be fined by the European Union.
Yeah.
And they
That's
said we'd rather not pay the tax. We would rather just sell less cars. So now some people do think that way, you know?
well, if the tax is that high, that's a financial decision. But at its extreme, if you don't sell any cars, it won't cost you anything.
Well,
But then that technically you're not in the car business.
I
So
know. I know. I can't sell my product because if I do, I'll be fined.
yeah.
But I do think we're going to see some bloodletting. We've talked about this on Cruise Control.
Well, we know. Yeah.
Brands are going to go. So I think they will be selling less cars because they will have less brands. And a lot
Yeah.
of their
So
brands
well,
have
but
one or two models. So,
yeah, and this tax, by the way, it's a CO2 tax for gas, and it's about $103 per excess gram
okay.
of CO2 emission per vehicle. That's a lot of money.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It certainly.
It could cost like Renault says it could cost $16 billion.
I think what they'll do at that point is just kill the brand. They'll kill brands. That's what they'll do. They'll sell less
Yeah,
cars. They'll drop models. But they are in quite the problem for sure.
it's quite a bind.
Yeah,
Don't like to see it.
yeah. Here's a quick talking tech. Talking about emissions and things. There's a new paint system that less of the paint goes into the air and more of it goes on the car. Once again, I always said this. You want to solve emissions issues, make it better for companies. So what's better for companies? You're spraying paint. I'm going to spray less paint because it won't go in the
Right.
air and be wasted, right? And then require cleanup or something like that. It's also good for the environment because you're spraying less paint, even though it's waterborne paint, I'm sure, at this point.
Even so, you have some VOCs, and the fact is the most expensive portion of a car factory is the paint
Here we go.
by far.
All right, we're coming back in.
So,
Here we go.
yep.
Cruise Control.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Cruise Control. We have a new Audi we want to tell you about. It's pretty impressive. It's the new RSQ8. It's going to be very powerful. 631 horsepower.
Yep.
Roughly the same torque.
Yeah.
It's the most powerful Audi sport model ever. I guess other than their race cars. It is newly designed and all of the stuff that you hear about all the time: ceramic brakes, adaptive air suspension, as they say, to extend the new model's performance envelope while retaining comfort and
Go
everyday
fast.
practicality. Took the words right out of my mouth. But Audi, let's face it, Audi makes a heck of a good car.
Yes, they do.
So this is a bi-turbo V8, of course. They're very good at that. The adaptive suspension, quattro, of course, all-wheel drive, self-locking.
Active roll stabilization, which is cool.
Well, you got to have that.
Yeah, they call it Standard Electromechanical Active Roll Stabilization, or EAWS. Minimizes lateral movements of the body. Standard all-wheel steering with high-torque electric spindle drive. Listen to what this does. The rear wheels can turn up to 1.5 degrees in the same direction as the front wheels, improving stability. But at lower speeds, the rear wheels turn up to 5 degrees in the opposite direction of the front wheels, reducing the turning radius and making the SUV easier to maneuver in tight spots. I think a lot of people could use that.
This is a great idea. This is something Porsche has done in the past. And I'm all for it, but I would just be constantly in fear of when this system breaks. It's going to be really expensive to fix.
It will be a tsunami of dollars, for sure.
It will be. It will be. And well, anyway, but let's just pretend it doesn't break. And there's lots of information on the roll stabilization, and it's got new lighting technology for it.
Yeah, this is very cool. Can this come to the U.S., Les, or is this still not approved? It's the Matrix.
It probably will be approved, but yeah, the Matrix. Well, but they're LEDs.
And they only turn on the LED that is needed, which is nice because at night it should not be blazing in your eyes if one of these is coming at you. Which I know that's a system that they were looking at approving, but we'll have to see.
Yeah,
but I think it's good.
Reviewing them.
23-inch bi-spoke wheels forged.
Well, there you are.
The hoops.
Bigger the wheel, thinner the tire is, but
you know what though,
yeah,
they are great at suspensions, Les. It's funny they can
feel that.
They can put a big wheel and small sidewall tire on a vehicle, and it doesn't feel like you're all over the road, So that's good.
That's right, and. The red or gray RS design package is available for the interior.
Mm-hmm.
Nicely laid out interior. That's something Audi does well.
Alcantara steering wheel. I always wondered how would they get grimy and funky from sweating and hand grime.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's pretty resistant to staining.
What would you put that chassis, that Quattro chassis with that 600 horsepower engine under, if you could put it under something else?
Oh, I would put it on a 67 Corvette.
That would be great. That's SEMA right there, man.
Yeah, that would be cool. Or I would put it under our newly acquired 63 Buick Riviera.
That would be crazy. That would be SEMA right there as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That would definitely be cool. Well, do we have pricing on this? Oh, yes,
Yes,
we
we do.
do.
You ready?
Oh, it's bit beefy.
It's a modest 136,200.
Wow. Okay.
So get in line with your checkbook.
Certainly not for what we were discussing earlier, the less expensive vehicle
This is
selection.
attention, bargain hunters. Ignore this story.
So, well, what if you don't have a car and you need to rent a car, right? So,
Right.
we've all experienced this. Okay, I need to rent a car. Well, how do I get there if I don't have a car? Well, you have to take an Uber. Maybe you rent from Enterprise and you pick you up, but sometimes they can't do that. Well, there's a new service called They. This is pretty cool stuff, and it is a talking tech segment for our this week. They use something called teledriving. So you order a car and you say, I want a car. They have someone in their office remotely drive the car to your home. You get in the car, they disconnect from the car, and then you can drive it like a regular car. Then you pull it in your parking garage or your parking lot or your driveway, and you tell them, okay, I'm all done with the car. The teledriver will now start the vehicle and drive it to the next person that's going to rent it. So it's basically like a simulator, someone sitting at a simulator, actually driving a car on the road, and it's already approved in areas of Europe and in Las Vegas, and it's underway.
I like the idea. I do like the idea. I don't see how it can be cost effective because every single car they rent needs a remote driver. Now, you only need so many drivers at any given time, but still, that's a lot of drivers and a lot of remote systems, some of which are going to crash the system, not the car. And you need to reboot and all that. I don't see how it's cost effective. Also, I don't see why it would be such an enjoyable thing to be a remote driver for a rental car company. But
Although I'd like to try it, wouldn't you?
I'd like to try it too. And it reminds me of a guy that I knew in the Navy who came to our squadron. He was right out of flight school, and this was during the end of the Vietnam era, and there weren't any billets for him to fly anything when he got out of flight school. So they put him on the back of a destroyer flying drones remotely.
Oh, yes. I remember that. I remember that drone, and like a
And
helicopter. It's like a helicopter,
but
basically.
but he hated it.
Well,
He
I
just
remember.
hated it.
I remember walking outside where I was working, and they had a Predator drone there, right? And there's a pilot there in a
Hmm.
flight suit, and I said, "Oh, do you fly this remotely?" And he goes, "Yeah." He said, "We strap in, and we're sitting in a seat just like in an aircraft, and I've got the yoke, and I've got screens,
The
and I
whole
fly."
thing.
He says, "I actually put, a harness on." I said, "Oh, were you a pilot before this? Flying actual in the aircraft?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "What were you flying?" He said, "C-5A." I said,
Wow,
I said, "You went from the
that's
world's largest plane to." He says, "Yeah, I know. It's
to
crazy, isn't
a
it?"
desk. He's literally flying a desk.
Yeah.
But
I said, "You
this is
can't get
not.
a bigger contrast than that."
You cannot possibly do it. But this guy just hated sitting there at a screen and driving a drone. So I just. Yeah, but that's a personnel problem. That's
But
not a
once again,
technology problem.
You're going to get a lot of people that do this. They're gamers, and they would love this.
Right, right.
I also heard at some places this was funny. The They would have the rental car, right? The guy would have a little tow rig with another car. He would tow the car to your
Yeah.
house, unhitch it, and then drive off in the car, you know, to go back to his office. That was kind of the early version of this, but I don't know. It's interesting. I'd like to try it for sure, but one thing I
I'd
did
like to too.
drive is the Tundra Capstone, Toyota Tundra Capstone. We're going to have a full at the wheel review when we come back. This is also not one of those inexpensive vehicles, Les Jackson. So we'll talk about that and more when we come back on Cruise Control. in.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control. Fred Staub and Les Jackson. It's at the wheel time. Let's talk about a big truck, and that is the Toyota Tundra Capstone. Capstone is the top of the range model, and it is literally like a Lexus with a Toyota badge on the front. And this is a blue badge because it is a hybrid. This one had the iForce Max powertrain, 437 horsepower, 583 pound-feet of torque with a maximum towing capacity of 12,000 pounds. Less color of this vehicle is blueprint. It was like a high-end Lexus vehicle, I would say.
Blueprint.
Blueprint. Great vehicle. This is light years away from the rubber mat, floor shift, bench seat pickup trucks of the past.
Oh, yeah.
Very high-end, and the Capstone's the high-end trim. But, you know, it doesn't really flaunt it in the sense that some of the other manufacturers where they tried to make like the Blackwood and things like that many years ago. This is just a luxury machine. I would hate to put anything in the bed because it might mar it. But when you look at the interior, the level of detail, the level of quality materials is out of this world. I love the LED taillights, by the way, in the back. Very cool. Check out this interior. Two-tone ventilated leather seats, heated and cooled seats. Beautiful, beautiful detail on the stitching and the materials used. I didn't find one hard plastic surface. Everything was padded or wrapped or soft touch. Stitching on the dash, the door panels had a little wood grain in there. Even the speaker grills got the treatment, which was pretty darn nice. Soft touch everywhere on the dash, all the way across. The French stitching, beautiful, beautiful. When you look at the dash, you get this display up front. All your gauges are electronic, so glass cockpit. I believe that is a 4-inch display. And then the wood grain carries over to the center console. You get your wireless phone charger, and then a big console with connectivity in there, big enough to haul just about anything. You can easily go into 2 high or 4 low with the flip of that switch. And then you got the drive modes with the knob, which I seem to have standardized these knobs with the little screws across the full lineup there. Of course, you got sport, normal, eco modes in the vehicle, and there's a tow mode as well. This knob was kind of weird. It would twist when you would use it. That is to work the screen. It's also a touch screen as well. And a lot of manual controls, buttons, and flippers, which is nice since after all this is a truck and you'll be using your work gloves. Not so much, but big display, 12-inch plus display, 14-inch display, I should say. Look at the level of detail in this cabin, though. Indirect blue lighting. Out back, plenty of legroom. I was very impressed with the legroom and, of course, the headroom because it's squared off. Big rear glass, easy to see out of. Just tons of room in the back for the passengers. It's like you're in a luxury car. You get heated and cooled seats in the back and, of course, some connectivity for plugging in things like your phone or tablet. Overall, great interior. Still retains some of that chunky look of the Toyota trucks, but everything is just, covered in some kind of high-end material, and they've gone very overboard with that. Underneath, the battery for the hybrid is underneath the rear seat, so you don't really get any storage there, but you do get a little bit more room if you flip it up. Out back, open the tailgate, push of a button, out pops a step, and down drops the tailgate. It's a 5.5 bed, 5.5 foot bed in the 4-door cab here, and the bed was great. It had AC power, it had slats for hauling wood. And just, if you ever use it, it has a lot of nice things in there. Tie downs, AC power, all of that. This is a hybrid, so you will have plenty of AC power for that inverter. As I mentioned, this has the iForce Max hybrid system in under the hood. But I believe they're doing away with the blue logos for hybrids eventually. But underneath, nicely packaged engine, 437 horsepower, 583 pound-feet of torque from the hybrid drivetrain. Pretty darn nice. I mean, who does hybrids better than Toyota, right? They've been doing them for a
Nobody.
long time. As I mentioned, 12,000-pound towing capability. Overall, just a nice package in this vehicle, and you can get these vehicles in the TRD off-road package. You can get them in the Nightshade package. They can come with not the model Capstone, but the TRD one can come with a 3-inch lift from the factory. I mean, the options, as with most pickup trucks, are endless. You see the big grill out front, too. That was gargantuan, that grill. I mean, that's all you would see in your rear view if you were behind that. It's funny how that design became like, iconic. When we first saw these things, we were like, "My gosh, it's a wide mouth bass," right?
Yeah, that's right. But now everybody has it. Looks like a big bathtub.
Yes, yes. So let's talk some of the numbers on this. Great overall safety score, 5 stars all the way around, and that is good news. So the Capstone model, get ready for this. It is the Tundra HV 4x4 Capstone Crew Max is the official name of this. Well equipped with everything: the hybrid engine, the dark chrome alloy wheels, 22-inch aluminum wheels, the aluminum reinforced composite bed, the 120 volt 400 watt AC power outlet, LED lights, auto leveling. They have a 4-link suspension in the back, no more leaf springs, so it rode incredibly well. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, JBL 12 speaker system. It goes on and on. Heated and ventilated front and rear seats, power tilt and slide panoramic roof. All in, before destination, $78,845. You add in delivery and processing, that adds on $1,850. Grand total of, as tested price, $80,695. It's a lot of truck, but it's a lot of money as well. And, really, in this case, it is a hybrid, but the hybrid is there for power, to get additional power and not have a big V8 in it. So when you look at the numbers, 22 on the highway, 19 in the city for an aggregate number of 20, you might say, wow, why aren't those higher? Remember, this thing is a heavy truck that can tow 12,000 pounds.
Actually, for a big truck, that's quite impressive mileage.
Yeah, back in the day, that would have been down in the 13s and things like that. So,
yeah, at best.
Yeah, but just a quality piece for sure. And you can't go wrong with the Tundra. Final assembly point, by the way, is San Antonio, Texas, USA. And a very impressive vehicle, a great riding truck. And I think what makes these trucks, ride so well is not having leaf springs in the back. I mean, leaf springs are kind of like for a buggy, basically, and not having them in the back immediately means it's a great ride. And great ride even with 22-inch wheels. I guess it's just so big, and there's sidewall there, and it's so heavy. It just does a great job. So I'm surprised Toyota doesn't own the truck market, frankly, with the quality they put out. And
Well, yeah, I think one day it will. But, you have a lot of inertia for the last 100 years
yeah.
with people with Chevy and Ford, mainly.
All right. Well, we're going to see you down the road. We'll see you around.
Bye.
All right, let me.
Well,
Thanks for watching the Cruise Control live stream. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We appreciate it.